What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RC's Gateway to Comics. Today, we are going to be talking about the problems that some creators may run into whenever they try to build a universe far too quickly. Now, this is something that I've seen happen with several creators where they try to build a universe far too quickly, and the anticipation and the build completely falls flat. Now, you can take this even as far as the DC universe over with their movies. They took everything that they were seeing with Marvel and they tried to rush it. They went from Man of Steel immediately to Batman v Superman, immediately to Justice League. That immediately killed their momentum, and it pretty much it set them in motion to being a completely trash franchise, even to the point where James Gunn is probably going to fail to reboot it because it is such a damaged brand. Whereas you have something like Marvel, which takes its time to build up something. Starts with Iron Man, does Captain America, Thor. I think Incredible Hulk may have been a part of that, but I'm not entirely sure. I think it may have been, but if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. And at the time, those were all seen as individual movies. Maybe if you stuck around to the end credit scenes, you would see that they have connecting points to them. But they were all seen as individual movies by the regular moviegoer. Then they started to bring all of that stuff together with the Avengers. Now, this was not a 2-year process. This was a multi-year process. They let it build. They built their universe brick by brick by brick. They didn't stack it all up on one thing and then completely rush into, oh, we have Avengers, we have Infinity War, we have Endgame, all in 5 years. This was a multi-year, multi-phased schedule, and it allowed people to get into and enjoy that universe. And they wanted to see these characters interact. They wanted to see how all of this was going to mold together and create this perfect puzzle. And it was successful. There's up until Endgame. All of these projects were blockbusters, and with very few dumpster fires. It was widely regarded as the ideal way to build a universe. And this is something that I think comic creators should take note of. Whenever it comes to making a universe for your story, you want to make sure that you have people's interest with when it starts. I'm going to give you an example. And this is an example that I have used as, it's pretty much an example of how to do most things extremely well. And this is the Genuine Comics universe. Dave Brink, he put out Perfect 10, issue 1. He put out, and he saw that this property was doing very well. It won awards. The audiences really liked it. I really liked it. And he put out Perfect 10, issue 2. And with that campaign, he also had the sort of like the way of catching up by including Perfect 10, issue 1. And he also had something called Power Trip. Now, you only got this if you really wanted to, but it was an introduction to other characters in the Genuine Comics universe. With doing this, Dave kept most of the focus on 10, the character who's the android assassin who the universe has started to be built upon. And with taking a little tiny bit of focus away from her to show these various other heroes or villains in the Power Trip comic, he plants the seeds that this universe is bigger than what you may know if you had just gotten the Perfect 10 comics. And as the IP for Perfect 10 has grown and awareness of genuine comics has grown, Dave has put out other campaigns that are building on the success of the first comics that he put out. So now he has Perfect 10 issue 3 out. He has the other comics that he has previously put out, not through crowdfunding, but just through his own site. He has those as additional add-ons to the Perfect 10 campaigns. I know that I've reviewed one of them, and that is the Dream Girl series, which I do hope continues. And Dave also has the American Bliss comic that is coming out. And that's one that I have to do a review of sometime soon, but I have taken a look at it. It does look very good. And American Bliss came out of the Power Trip comic. You got a brief introduction to her there, and now she gets her own full-blown comic. And as this stuff progresses, Dave is able to pull from what he sees the customers liking, and he's able to make that the next stepping stone that will be building this universe, all the while strengthening the various different characters that are already being put out. If he does an American Bliss issue 2, then he's going to be on Perfect 10 issue 4, 5, 6. I don't know when the next one's coming out, but I know that he's always putting out ideas for campaigns that are coming in the future. And as someone who's been following Perfect 10 and American Bliss and genuine comics in general, I find myself highly anticipating all of these projects. And I know that I'm going to back them because Dave Brink has a track record of being able to build this universe and keep my attention. Now, there are others in the indie comics sphere who have tried to put out comics that are part of a larger universe, but it has been less successful. Out of respect for those creators, I'm not going to necessarily name them here, but some of you may know who I'm talking about. Whenever there was one comic that I have reviewed that I did enjoy. It started off a little bit rocky, but it did improve in the later issues. And those comics that were in that run had enough intrigue to want me, or they had enough intrigue to make me want to come back to that story. Now, they had fun action. They had a secret organization that's behind everything. They had sexy characters. They had mostly good art. All stuff that would make me want to come back. It had an intriguing story. I have no problem with that. I was waiting for issue 2. Now, the problem is that the creator decided to move on to a different property in his universe. And the unfortunate part about that is a lot of people didn't really pay much attention to it, and the art style was different. It was a different story entirely. Still in the same universe, but different stories, different characters that was spreading the attention far too thin. And that project ended up not funding, unfortunately. And after that, the creator moved on to a different project. It was not something that was even tied to his universe at all. And that project, funding at the same time as the previous one, didn't fund. And that's unfortunate because that's it's very discouraging for a creator whenever that stuff doesn't fund and there's not really interest in it. Now, this creator did decide to go with another property in his universe, and it did get funded. It pulled from story ideas that a lot of people may not have thought to put together, and it was something that is a cool concept. And it also has some little tendrils of connection to the first project that this creator put out. And I did back this project. It did fund successfully, but it wasn't as successful as the original campaign. Now, what I think was happening was this creator was trying to build up all these different pillars in his universe and then build all of them up at the same time. The unfortunate part about that is there was so many differences between them that the other pillars didn't really stand out to people. And then he moved on to a different property altogether, and that didn't really work out. So all of that recognition that the original campaign got was squandered because the audience wanted the sequel to that. I know that I certainly did, and a lot of other people probably did as well. So whenever you spread yourself too thin and you're not building up a certain character and then branching off from them, I feel like it is a big problem. Because whenever you get people invested in a character, they want to see more of that character. And especially whenever it comes to indie comics, audiences have a very short attention span. You'll see it a lot with people just saying, like, they're always talking about the late books and all of that, and how some projects take a very, very long time to get completed. And people may have the enthusiasm to back a campaign, but if you don't capitalize on that enthusiasm by either putting out a sequel or by doing something extremely quickly that they're going to see as being connected to what they had originally got, then I don't think that you're going to necessarily be as successful as you could be. I mean, take a look at Dave Brink with Genuine Comics. He started with Perfect 10, at least in the crowdfunding sphere, and he's built his universe successfully, I might add, off of that one character. Because even though stuff like American Bliss and Dream Girl are not tied to Perfect 10, they still have little connections that make you see that they are still in the same universe, and it keeps you that much more intrigued to see how all of this is going to play out whenever there is, I hope, a world-shattering event that needs all of these heroes to come together. That is why I think some creators need to maybe take a step back and plan their universes a little bit better, because if you misstep, then that could lead to devastation for your comic universe. And if you don't have that that pillar that you need and you don't capitalize on it, then I'm sorry to say you may just have to kiss that crowdfunding aspirations goodbye. I hope that the creators out there who have tried to build their universes are able to rebound, but there are sometimes that I have noped out of backing some creators because they have just moved on to too many different properties. And I'm probably not the only one, unfortunately. So, what are you guys' thoughts on building a comic universe? I want to hear those down in the comment section below. I'm very curious to see what you guys can come up with. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I will see all of you in the next video. Peace out.